Hey, everybody, and Doc.
Good evening, everybody. Now, I wanted to just say that Marvin and his wife and family are at the Noah's Ark exhibit in Kentucky tonight, and it's interesting that Marvin told me that he was driving along and out of the corner of his eye, he sees this head off the side of the road, and he looked back and he saw a body laying there. Some guy on a motorcycle had been riding along, and somebody hit him, and he was just laying there unconscious, and so he called he called the law enforcement and called apparently called 911, and it took ages to get out there because these roads out there are one lane. They're not two-lane roads in Kentucky. He says unbelievably disorganized out there. Took over an hour and a half for the ambulance to get out there, and took even longer for the police to get out there. And somebody had hit this guy and ran, so they got him all loaded up in the ambulance and off to the hospital. And so Marvin says just about every trip he goes on, he says there's some kind of emergency, that happens. And but anyway, he was very excited to have his family go to the Noah's Ark. He said it takes about 3 days to go through. So today was his first day, and I'll probably hear back from him, all of his experiences and stuff like that. And then we got to talking about the one that's actually in Turkey, the one that was discovered out there, and how Ron Wyatt was one of the first ones out there. He was a anesthetist, or not, he was a nurse anesthetist, and saved up his money and went over, and he took ground radar and was the first one to discover the evidence of bulkheads and keel lines with this boat. Well, now they have more modern things. That now he passed away in 1999, but now they've had people go out there with more expensive ones, and more later technology, and they've actually found cages, or like their hollow areas inside where they would have had compartments for all these animals. And Ron Wyatt said he thought that probably what happened was that they took baby animals onto the ark. When the ark got loaded up, it was baby animals that came unloaded the ark. And during the time that he was on there, and when they got let out, then they grew up. So, but anyway, that's uh, so Marvin is probably going to be more interested in studying out real Noah's Ark in the future, and I would like to go with him over to Turkey to see that. There's a national park over there where it actually shows it, and of course Ron Wyatt believed that there were very large things in the earth that were left behind that were some of the biggest events in the Bible. He also discovered what he believed to be the real Mount Sinai. He discovered what he believed to be the Sodom and Gomorrah. I've actually held in my hands, and actually was given a couple of segments, pieces of of fire and brimstone, that came from the fire that burned up Sodom and Gomorrah. And so I have that in storage someplace. I don't have it. I can't lay my hands on it right now. But he discovered that site, and you can see videos of that online. Just look up Ron Wyatt, and he discovered the Red Sea crossing. And I remember going to a meeting when I was back in Wisconsin, and his team came there. Now he was still alive at the time, but he didn't come. But his team members came and showed pictures of the Red Sea and the chariot wheels. And I said, "Look there! There is an image of a pelvis and ischium and sacrum of somebody that was near that chariot wheel." And he said, sure enough, he wasn't an anatomist, like, I'm a chiropractor, so I recognized it. And he said, sure enough, it was. And so now people have gone back and investigated, and have found skeletal remains down there that are covered up by coral and stuff like that. They're not just bone, it's all covered up. But there were skeletal remains there. And they also have found some skeletal remains in Sodom and Gomorrah, bone that hadn't completely burned up. And so, then what else was discovered? He also discovered where Joseph had made areas that stored grain underneath the ground, and in like silos underground. And he also believed that he found the Ark of the Covenant, and he tells that story online, and you can watch it, and it's very amazing uh, to see his story. And he couldn't show all of the Ark of the Covenant because the films would not come out. And I believe that's, divinely, probably a divine intervention, because those are very sacred things to see. So watch Ron Wyatt online and watch all the videos and see from there. Tonight, if you are a man who's older, 40 years old or older, or you love someone that's 40 or older, tonight's show is going to be for you. We're going to talk about prostate enlargement tonight. Okay, so with that, we're going to begin here. And we want to talk about the 3 different types of prostate enlargement that you nearly need to be concerned about. Okay. Prostate enlargement becomes nearly universal with men of age, and it's one of the most common reasons that men end up in a doctor's office. Most of them are told the same thing: it's just getting older. Well, here's what I want to do tonight. Let's talk about what's actually going on inside the prostate and what your nutrition has to do with it, because getting older is not a diagnosis. It's not a plan. And here's the 3 takeaways. You want to know your prostate. You need to feed it its raw materials and get screened. So let's start with what this little gland is. And the anatomy, it's a walnut-shaped gland just below the bladder. It wraps around the urethra. That's the tube that the urine flows through. And its job is to make fluid that's part of semen. And it wraps around that tube. And, that's why it can squeeze that tube if it enlarges. Okay, so it makes it difficult to pee. Okay. Now, these 3 things are not the same. BHP, benign enlargement, that's very common with age. It's not cancer. And there's prostatitis, inflammation or infection, and can hit younger men too. And then prostate cancer. It's a separate disease that needs medical diagnosis and care. Now, write this down. An enlarged prostate is not prostate cancer. 2 different things. But only a doctor can tell you which one you're dealing with, and which exactly is why we spend real time on the screening later. Symptoms to recognize. If you're going to the bathroom more often than you should, especially at night, with weak or stop-start stream urgency, feeling like you didn't fully empty, why does this happen, and why? And this is where my lens is a little bit different here. The goal is to introduce the deficiency framework honestly as a perspective. Now, Dr. Joel Wallach has built his career on one idea, and that a lot of chronic conditions trace back to the body missing raw materials, and it needs to maintain and repair itself. Now, if you've ever heard of scurvy, scurvy was a disease of sailors way back, I don't remember which year, but way back a long time ago on sailing ships. Scurvy could come along and wipe out literally all the sailors on the ship. And it affected the skin, it affected the teeth. You could end up losing all your teeth, a terrible looking mouth. And what they discovered was that if they juiced lemons, they could, there's enough vitamin C in there. That's where they discovered that vitamin C it was a vitamin C deficiency. So, of course, the English, on their ships, this spread to all the nations. They suddenly recognized it. It was the English that discovered it. Well, the English wanted to try to use a fruit that's from their own isles, and limes, apparently, they had access to. And so they would put limes on board, and it, of course, did not have the same amount of vitamin C that a lemon does. So that's why they ended up getting called limeys, because they ate a lot of limes and a lot of lime juice. Okay. So uh, that's kind of where we got the idea of vitamin deficiencies, that there are essential vitamins in our life. And, there were other diseases that responded to deficiency diseases. Pellagra, beriberi, and scurvy, pellagra, beriberi, were all deficiency diseases from different vitamins. Well, Dr. Wallach was involved in a research project in the late 60s, early 70s, where he actually did 3,500 autopsies on animals and about 454 species of animals, and I forget how many autopsies on humans. I don't recall at the moment, but there were humans around the area, and he was a comparative pathologist, and he discovered that they were looking for pollution. They were looking for an animal that they could use as a signal for pollution. And what he discovered instead was that anything that dies of natural causes dies of a deficiency disease. And so his proposal and conclusions were that there are 90 essential nutrients, 16 vitamins, 12 essential amino acids, and 60 essential minerals. And that by providing all 90 essential, he felt that he believed that there was about 10 diseases, deficiency diseases related to each missing nutrient. So if you're missing one nutrient, you have a susceptibility to 10 different diseases from that. And so his career was built on the fact that there are a lot of chronic conditions that trace back to the body missing raw materials that it needs to maintain and repair itself. The 90 essential nutrients, again, 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, 3 essential fatty acids. And those are the inputs that Dr. Wallach argues that the body can't make and has to be given. And I'm going to be upfront. I want to be straight with you. This is Dr. Wallach's framework and my clinical philosophy. It's not the official position of every medical body. And I'll tell you tonight where science agrees and where it's still arguing. I'd rather have you trust me than sell something to you. Okay. And it's incredibly metabolically active tissue, the prostate is, and it has one unusual nutrient signature that makes it the perfect example of this whole way of thinking. And it's a mineral that we're going to talk about tonight. Okay, zinc is the headline mineral that of every soft tissue in the body, the prostate concentrates zinc the most. It's not a supplement ad claim. That's just basic physiology. The healthy prostate holds far more zinc than surrounding tissue, and levels tend to drop when the gland is diseased. Now, this is Wallach's point. If a tissue hoards a mineral like that, that mineral matters to how it works. And that makes sense as a raw material story. Now, does swallowing a lot of zinc fix the prostate problem? Well, that's not proven, and I can't tell you it is, but in fact, megadoses of zinc over long periods of time have been linked to problems, not benefits. And by the way, treating any disease with one mineral is basically a fallacy. You'll see videos that say, vitamin D, the miracle vitamin. Well, Dr. Wallach's protocol says that no, you don't just focus on one nutrient. In fact, he used to show in his lectures a lineup of people from one specific village in Russia that were missing their right arm below the elbow. All of them, same arm. And he says, "Now, what mineral is missing?" And then people would raise their hand and say this mineral or that mineral, and he'd say, "All of them." In other words, you don't just focus on supplementing with one mineral, you supplement with all 90 essential nutrients. If you see something that you think may be a deficiency disease, you supplement with all 90 essential nutrients. And Dr. Wallach used to call it the 90-90, mighty 90. And so let's selenium is another trace mineral that's part of body's own antioxidant machinery. And the big trial on this is called Select Tested Selenium and Vitamin E to see if they lowered prostate cancer risk, and they didn't. And the vitamin E arm actually looked slightly worse. And I'll tell you that because if I only gave you the good news, then you shouldn't trust the rest of the show. So sufficiently, yes, high dose insurance, the evidence didn't back it. So in other words, just oversupplying some nutrient is not going to do anything. Okay. Saw palmetto and beta cisterol or plant sterols. These are the most studied botanicals for the urinary center of BHP. The honest read is early studies look promising, but the largest, most rigorous trials of saw palmetto came back essentially even with placebo for symptoms. So beta cisterol has some symptom improvement data, generally well tolerated. So because they're widely used, generally safe, and some men feel the difference, just go in and with clear eyes and not miracle expectations. So lycopene, the red in tomatoes, associated with prostate health in observational studies. Trial evidence is softer. Omega-3 essential fatty acids, anti-inflammatory role in the body. Note the research is mixed, so sufficiency, not megadosing. So you want to supplement, but not overdose. Vitamin D, widely understudied, undersupplied, involved in a lot of tissue regulation. It's worth knowing your level. You tie the setback to the threats. None of these are a magic bullet. The idea is simpler. Give the gland the raw materials it's designed to run on, and don't be deficient in the things it clearly depends upon. Nutrients don't work in a vacuum, though. Let's talk about the plants and the lifestyle around them. Okay. And our goal is kind of practical tonight, do tonight actions, but plus the the chiropractic necessity of chiropractic care. Okay. You want to make sure that you're eating colorful vegetables and fruit, tomatoes, cruciferous vegetable, berries, healthy fats, olive oil, nuts, fatty fish, whole foods. You want to avoid ultra-processed foods, excess sugar. For some women, very high dairy and red processed meat. And notice your own patterns. See what happens. Now, for me, I notice that if I stay balanced with the 90 essential nutrients that Dr. Wallach provides, plus ProstFX, I don't have to use it all the time. But if I feel some restricted flow or something like that, or swelling, I take the ProstFX. I only take about 2, and it seems to settle down for me. Okay. Now, metabolic health and prostate health, carrying extra weight, being sedentary, and having blood sugar problems all track worse with the prostate and urinary outcomes, and movement counts. In other words, having proper exercise. If you're having, probably nightly winds, you may actually feel some restricted motion. Ease up on the fluids, caffeine, alcohol before bed. It may cut the 2 a.m. bathroom trips. So you don't have to overhaul your life tonight. Pick one thing off of the list and start. Now, chiropractic, whole body care. The clinical experience. This is a whole body conversation, and that structure and function are related. There is a nerve supply to the prostate, and having interference with the nerves or imbalance in the spine will distort the relationship in the pelvis. When we lay a patient down, we can see a leg pull short. We know that there's lumbar and pelvic distortion. It's measurable on an instrument called an anatometer. And we've noted clinically that when we correct this atlas subluxation complex, it will straighten the pelvis out. And we have seen clinical changes in inflammation of the prostate from that alone. And that's not making a claim, that's just an observation over the years, over thousands of patients that I've taken care of. So let me tell you what I've seen in my own office, and when we get back to the hips and the sacrum moving right, a lot of men find their pelvic and urinary complaints ease up. I'm not going to stand here and tell you exactly why, down to the nerve, but I see it case after case, and getting your framework aligned is part of the whole body approach. And why this holds up while a lot of men call prostate trouble is actually chronic pelvic pain syndrome. Musculoskeletal pelvic floor, not the gland itself. And that's real territory for hands-on care as part of a multimodal plan. And I'm just going to speak from clinical experience. Here's what I've seen. Not from any mechanism. I have a video called L4 innervates the prostate. Not necessarily. It can be innervated anywhere from L1 to L2, and in the sacrum, just basic lumbar and pelvic alignment makes a difference. And you can't boil it down to one nerve necessarily. Now, I've seen things that are boiled down to one nerve, where one vertebra is adjusted, and it makes a difference, okay? So my experience is really unassailable because the mechanism, just because the mechanism isn't supported down to the exact science that a urologist might look at, really what it boils down to, whatever we do to improve your overall framework, you can still have the prostate properly checked and support the whole system and screen the gland. Go in and have your prostate screened. Now, the important, don't skip your doctor. Everything I've said tonight supports prostate health. None of it replaces getting checked. Nutrition and screening are teammates, not rivals. And know your PSA baseline. Ask your doctor what yours is and what it means for you. And talk about a screening schedule and what fits your age and risk, earlier more often if you have a family or at risk other factors. And get changes, any changes, get evaluated now, or worsening urinary symptoms or rising PSA, get it looked at, not watched at home. So if you take one thing from tonight, let it be this, that a good diet and doctor's appointment are not an either or, just book the appointment and make sure that your nutrition is there and make sure that your exercise is there. And I just want to talk a little bit about husband and wife here tonight, because let's face it, having a healthy sex life makes a difference too. If you're being denied in the bedroom, men, that can cause, I believe that causes a problem as well. If you don't use it, you lose it. And, ladies out there often complain about how their men are acting. And, really what it boils down to is men are very easy to deal with. I had a professor in college, a lady professor of physiology, and she says men are real easy to deal with. feed them noodles and touch their pee-pee. You know, if you're getting a man that's irritated, maybe he's not getting enough in the bedroom. Now, I had one patient come to me one time and complaining about her husband wanting so much sex. And I looked at her and I says, "Where's he supposed to go? You know, where's he supposed to go? You know?" And she was a registered nurse, and she took one look at me, went kind of silent, came back later and said it made all the difference in the world. She finally woke up to the fact of what she was not doing in the bedroom for him. And men can suffer as a result of that, you know. And so, and that's, you know, I'm not telling you that from necessarily a scientific basis, but just from clinical experiences I've heard. I do believe personally that that makes a difference. Okay. And here's something else. There is some science behind the idea, if you don't, that cancer is higher in men that don't have at least 21 ejaculations per month. So there is some science behind that. Now that doesn't mean there's a relationship. It just means that there's an interesting correlation there. So we want to make sure that structure and function are related. That you know that you want to have proper exercise. So that includes a proper sex life along with it. And also, and there's a disclaimer here. I don't want to say that there's a scientific study on this, because I don't believe there is, other than what I said to you about a relationship between cancer and men having at least 21 ejaculations per month. Okay, so, and these statements that I've said have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure, prevent disease. But there's a clear call to action in how to order and how to, you know, how you can order these, how you can reach me if you need advice on this, and an invitation to consult with me. Okay. So I'm going to just close on my part of this. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to watch some videos here, a couple of videos, and then we're going to talk about it a little bit. Okay. And if there's any questions to me that you have tonight, just you know, let me know. Fill in your questions tonight. Send us the questions, and I'll try to answer them. And I want to just recap here 3 ways. Number one, know your prostate. Enlargement isn't necessarily cancer, but only a doctor can tell you which is which. Feed it its raw materials, zinc and the rest, and sufficiency will not, and proper sufficiency will not overload your system. And get screened, get the nutrition, and stay under chiropractic care. And of course, the prostate is a gland that nobody talks about until it's a problem. Feed it, move for it, and get it checked, and that's it. So let's, with that, Doc, do you have the first video that we can talk with Dr. Wallach on there?
Only one, the subluxation is the only one I have.
The what?
The subluxation, like the subluxation.
Subluxation. Okay, yeah, go ahead and go with that.
The other one didn't come up yet. Still didn't come up yet.
So it's still trying to come up.
Yeah.
So it's being blocked.
Because
that is actually. Now let me ask you this: is it being blocked on your computer itself, or just on the show?
It's probably being blocked on. Well, it's not the computer, because I checked for blocking it. There's nothing blocking it. So it might be something.
It works on my end. It works on my end.
Here. The sublation works. The other one's not. So.
Subluxation, you mean?
Yeah. Subluxation. I have that one. The other one, it doesn't come up at all. So you're gonna.
Is it just circling and circling?
Yep.
Or what's it?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what the reason for that is. Is that on your desktop that it's circling?
Yes.
What browser are you using?
Google.
I don't know what the reason for that is, because I know it's working on my end.
Well, you can't use another browser when you're using the software, only because it's recognized by Google, and that might be another issue. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. Don't know what to tell you.
Do you want me to play it or
Yeah,
you
go
want to
ahead
look?
and do the subluxation one first, and let's see what that looks like. And we might see if I can bring it up from my end. You know,
If you can bring it up
the,
for your end, that's great, but it's not letting me bring it up. So
but the trouble is that the sound doesn't come through my end. That's the problem.
I get it. Marvin's does though, right?
Yeah,
It's so
yeah,
weird.
Marvin's does. So
So weird. All right, here we go.
Okay, we just finished covering the L3 area. Now we want to cover the L4. The L4 area supplies the prostate gland, the muscles of the lower back, and the sciatic nerve. Problems in this area can be sciatica, lumbago, difficult, painful, or too frequent urination, or backaches. And a lot of ladies, when they're in pregnancy, have a lot of low back problems in this area. Dr. Wallach endorses regular chiropractic care along with his nutritional protocol for healthy bone and joints to help prevent, repair, and reverse situations like this.
now let me try from my end here, Doc, and see if I can get mine to.
Okay. I am trying another browser while we're doing this, but go ahead.
Okay, go ahead and try that browser.
No, go ahead. Try to bring yours up, and then I'll see what I can do on this end. I don't know if it's going to allow the other browser in here if it plays. And it does play, so let's see. Hold on, Doc. I got it on in another browser. Come right up, so let's see. Try to find it in another browser here. It won't let you see the other browser. As a window, let me see if I can do this one. Hold on. Is it gonna? Can you see it, Doc?
No, I can't. Oh, there we go. Maybe so. Yeah.
Oh, is it coming up?
No, it's not coming up at all.
Hold on a second. Hold on. Yeah, because it sees another browser.
There we go.
Let's hit confirm. Okay, let's see if this plays. Well, here we go. It wants to do something again. Let's see if we can play it now. See what happens. One way or another, we'll get it.
What should men do if they have an elevated PSA? Well, what does PSA mean? Prostate specific antigen. Okay. And of course, the guy who found this antigen and related it back to prostate activity or lack of prostate activity, or too much prostate activity, on his deathbed, he said it was never designed, never invented by the body to be a predictor or monitor of prostate cancer. It's actually just a monitor of trauma to the prostate gland. Mm-hmm. For instance, if I take a hammer and hit you in the hand, well, your tissues in your hand are going to release histamines. You get white blood cells coming in there to try and deal with the damage. And the same thing is true with the prostate gland. When it gets injured, it will release PSA. It could be from riding one of these stationary bikes with a narrow seat. All right. It could be doing karate moves and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It could be from jogging too much. It could be sitting on a hard chair. It could be having underwear that's too tight. Anything that puts pressure, or you're constipated. Right. And having a big, hard bowel movement banging on that prostate gland. Be that simple. Mm-hmm.
For men that have no experience, I mean, I don't. Since you've done autopsies on humans, you've obviously seen what the size of the prostate is. How big is a prostate gland?
Well, a healthy prostate gland should be the size of a walnut.
Okay.
In the shell.
Okay. So you have an English walnut in the shell or black walnut?
English walnut.
English walnut. Okay. I know you know the difference between the two.
Yes.
Because we have in Missouri, the black walnuts.
Yep.
So if he having a large prostate, so that's going to could increase how many times its size.
Well, I've seen them get as big as lemons.
Okay.
Okay. And of course, it's going to be emitting PSA because there's some sort of insult to that prostate. And like I say, it could be a hard bowel movement for constipation, could be a full bladder. Because you have to hold because your orchestra conductor, you've got 3 hours of music before you can stop
Sure.
and take the break, kind
Sure.
of thing. Those kinds of things. The prostate's actually a quite sturdy gland. When you think about it, there's not much that goes wrong with the prostate gland. A lot of times you get treated for prostate cancer, you don't have prostate cancer.
PSA. Now, I have heard you say that do not let the doctors cut on your prostate. Why is that?
You start cutting on the prostate gland, many people die from that complication of that surgery. Dick Clark from American Bandstand did it. He really didn't need to have prostate surgery. An enlarged prostate, they said. Turned out, and a couple days later, he was dead from complications. Why would you do that when it really wasn't necessary? You could have had the Zara test, which is designed to support healthy prostate function and size. Ultimate selenium, designed to support and promote healthy prostate function. And the 90. Even the prostate gland requires all 90 essential nutrients.
Right.
Nobody dies of prostate cancer if you have prostate cancer. If you die and you have prostate cancer, it's almost always from the treatment.
I see. But can somebody develop cancer in the prostate and spread to the rest of the body?
If it does spread, almost always it goes to bones in the region, pelvis, vertebrae, leg bones. It rarely, if ever, goes to the brain, the lungs, the liver, which is what kills you. You have other metastatic cancers.
Right.
It's extremely rare for prostate cancer to go to any of those places. And so prostate cancer is manageable without heroic treatments, without radiation, surgery, chemotherapy. Quality of life is good. You can last a long time. And why would you let somebody kill you with chemotherapy, which fails 97% of the time anyway?
Right. Now, PSA, is there any other indicator that a prostate is unhealthy besides PSA?
Size. A lot of times you can see that the prostate gland's enlarged.
Yeah.
It's a high resolution ultrasound. And oftentimes when doctors diagnose a man with an enlarged prostate, it's because they get up 2 or 3 times a night to go to the bathroom, urinate. They just offhand, and that's what they do with Dick Clark. Oh, you're getting up at night 4 or 5 times. That we got to deal with that prostate. It really was a back problem.
I
Going
see.
back to that, right?
The neurological.
Control of the bladder.
I
They
see.
had an irritable bladder thing, not a prostate thing.
I see.
And so women, they don't have a prostate, so doctors can't say, oh, you're getting up 3 or 4 or 5 times a night because you have a prostate problem. You have an irritable bladder problem. My favorite ad on TV is this urinary bladder that drags this woman around.
Yeah.
She's always looking for the bathroom.
Yeah.
Oh, it's time to call the doctor. I'm tired of the bladder dragging me around. Well, instead of taking drugs, put your bladder to sleep, take the 90 essential nutrients, support and promote maintenance repair of the disc between your vertebrae, it just goes away. Because it's almost always, when you have irritable bladder syndrome, it's almost always a back problem.
Now, I just want to comment on this. The importance of the Atlas subluxation complex. Why I recommend NUCA is because with NUCA, they have defined misalignment. What is normal? In order to have an adjustment, there are 4 things that you have to have. Okay, you have to have an established normal. Number 1. Number 2, you have to have a knowledge of how it's departed from normal. Number 3, you have to have a biomechanically sound method of reducing it to normal. And number 4, you have to be able to verify the correction. Now, the very first measurement that a NUCA doctor does on your spine is to measure his x-ray machine. His x-ray machine has to be precisely aligned And the patient placement has to be consistent. In other words, it has to have repeatability and reliability in terms of being able to clamp somebody in there and actually measure their misalignment. In other words, I should be able to take a patient and clamp them in my x-ray machine, take an image, take images of the subluxation, and read those images, and within a quarter degree accuracy, they should be able to fly down to Southern California and have Dr. Kripe take the same x-rays and measure them and come within a quarter degree of my findings. Now that's the NUCA standard. That's the standard of NUCA. And when it says board certified, it means being able to make those, prove that your x-ray machine is in alignment first. And I had to prove that my x-ray machine was in alignment. And I'll tell you something, if I stopped getting results with my patients, the first thing I did is tear down that x-ray machine. I would stop my clinic for a week. And I'd literally go through hundreds of x-rays getting that thing back into alignment. And it's expensive to pay for that x-ray machine, x-ray film, to make sure that it gets back in alignment. This is back in the days when they used x-ray film. Today they use digital x-ray today. But anyway, and I've aligned at least 5 machines in my life. I have different machines. And been able to, is there a definition for alignment? Yes, there is an actual definition for the alignment of that x-ray machine. It was written in a book by Dr. Marshall Dickholz, the NUCA standards for aligning an x-ray machine properly. And then there's posture constant procedures that you have to learn. You're using a head clamp, so you clamp the atlas to the center of the film, and making sure that their posture is in a posture constant manner. And you can take those x-rays and you can measure them consistently and measure how it's departed from normal. And we actually use a mathematical formula for the direction of the effort down what we call the subluxation reduction pathway. In other words, the vertebra is going to follow a pathway as it misaligns. So if we can reverse that pathway that it followed on the way out exactly, it should realign itself to normal. And then we should be able to verify that correction back to normal. Now we also have an anatometer, instrument called the anatometer, which measures lumbar and pelvic distortion. And this was researched over a period of time and developed so that there was repeatability and reliability with that. Tested over thousands of patients, it has been shown that with an 85% or better correction of the upper cervical spine, the lumbar and pelvic spine will realign itself. That means the leg check will show the legs balanced. That means when they stand on that instrument and the clamp fits on their hips, which measures tilt and twist and the tilt of the spine, it will realign itself. Now, after thousands of patients, I see postural deviations. For instance, I know that President Trump is out of alignment because of the way he carries his head and his shoulders. And I see this I don't know how many videos I've watched where I can just see the tilt in the spine, the twisted, the way people walk. Structure and function are related. And the balance of the spine literally affects everything in your body. Okay? And what was found, there was a study done. Now, Dr. Marshall Dickholz did a study on hypertension. Dr. Bell was a medical doctor in Chicago, sent Dr. Dickholz 6,000 different patients. And what he noted in his records over time was that when Dr. Dickholz would adjust his patients that had high blood pressure, the blood pressure would go to normal. And he recorded this in his documents. Now, this is an anecdotal thing to begin with, okay? So he decided let's do an actual study on this. So he talked to Dr. Dickholz and got a hold of Dr. Backrus at the University of Chicago. So they set up a double-blind study. And they divided this group into two. Someone would get a fake adjustment, which you're able to do with NUCA. You can fake an adjustment because people can't feel the adjustment. 50% of them would get a real adjustment. And he would take post x-rays to verify that the one group hadn't gotten a correction and the other group did. And they found that from that study, and it's been published, that the NUCA correction can reduce blood pressure better than 2 medications. Now, that was a pilot study. Okay. So they did another study. This was a case study where they took that it had migraine headaches for 20 years. And Dr. Dickholz did pre-x-rays on him. They sent him in for an MRI, a contrast study. And then he adjusted him and took the post x-rays and verified the correction. And they took a post contrast study, MRI, on the fellow. And what they found was that there was an increase in venous outflow from the brainstem after the NUCA correction. So apparently, the subluxation somehow dams back venous outflow from the brainstem and maybe builds up pressure inside the brain. That may be what causes interference. We don't know. Further study needs to be done on it. But I do know this, from a purely clinical standpoint, that structure and function are related. I know that I was board certified in the fact that I have been able to reduce subluxations 85% or better. And I've seen the results in patients afterwards. So more study needs to be done on this. There needs to be, double-blind studies on before-after conditions, including prostate. We would love to do a study on prostate issues before and after. So with that, for those of you that would like to know more about this and about the possibility of having a relationship between structure and function or nutritional counseling, please give me a call at 406 or text me at 406-270-3754. It's better to text me so that I know who you are, what your problems are, what you need to talk to me about, and so forth. So, Doc G is still there?
I am here, yes.
Okay, what's your take on this tonight? Have we had any questions tonight at all from people?
I was just putting this on Facebook, other pages right now, but they were blocking us for the most part of the show. When I go to Facebook on here, it doesn't show me on this computer, so I got it on my phone, which is okay, but it didn't cache on here right. So I don't know if some people are watching it that way and they're just waiting for it to cache so they can clear it, but they don't clear it, they don't see it. I guess it's a situation that's near and dear to my heart. I've had prostate issues when I was younger. In my 40s, when I went to a urologist, I had some problems. Now, my wife and I, we weren't really very active that part. Really, because we were busy with the girls growing up, and there was just no time. But as I get older now, I see that things are even more important to try to keep that side going.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's hard because, people say, yeah, you can do it alone, but you really can't. There's a lot of emotional stress. There's a lot of visual and audio that men need to relate to, build from that. I'm just saying, I need stimulation. And sometimes the stimulation is not there for arguing or fighting, or there's a problem or something like this, stuff like that. And I don't have a switch I can just go off and on. You know, I know some
Well,
guys
let me ask you this. Do you feel less aggressive when you have had more activity in the bedroom?
less aggressive.
Do you feel calmer and
It's
less aggressive overall if your needs are being met?
I feel stress, less stress.
Less
I
stress. Okay.
feel more connection.
Okay.
I
Lower
feel
threshold. Lower threshold.
right. I feel, like I said, bonded more, connected more, soul connected more. That loving feeling. But my problem is, and this is probably a lot of guys' problem, it's not enough. And then you get into that point where you start, you know, you try to initiate it more, and it's still a hard thing to get through. You know, it's a 2 lane road. If you
Right.
both don't agree with whatever it is, it's like picking out bed sheets. If you don't agree on the bed sheets, one person's going to be uncomfortable on a bed sheet, the other person's going to be happy on the bed sheet. I mean, it's just that simple. I mean, I can pretty much be comfortable on a pad of dirt. You know, that's the way I look at it. If the other person is comfortable, but I always give up my luxury or comfort for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do that,
Just
and
don't
you
put sugar on the bed sheets.
right, when you compromise and you compromise and you compromise, you're always compromising. So
Right.
you're never getting your needs met. That's the way I see it. As a
Well,
guy,
here's something else. Mentally, you can prepare both of yourselves by affirmation. You figure out what you want to both feel, and you use affirmations. Now, I'm going to recommend a book to you, and it's by a lady by the name of Florence Scovel Shin, Shinn.
Mhm.
Florence Scovel Shin. Go to the library, check it out, take it home and read it. And you can literally program yourself. You can program both of yourselves into having the right mindset, because a lot of this is spiritual. You follow the Bible, and the Bible teaches a lot of mental little mental deals. For instance, the Apostle Paul admonishes in the marriage, neither one of you should be. Uh, I forget. Let's see. I'm trying to think of how. You're not to devoid your. You're not to rob your partner of participation in the bedroom activities, basically, unless you're both fasting for a reason. Like for a spiritual reason, fasting and
Right,
praying for
right,
something. Yeah. Okay. From here to here, we're not going to do anything. Because we want to pray about this and use that as part of your prayer life. That's one thing. But if you're not in agreement on it, it's basically defrauding is what it's called. Defrauding. When you withhold yourself from your spouse, you're defrauding them, and we're not to do that. Now, women have needs too. Okay, so it's not all men, and men can defraud their women too. So, I mean, the thing with it is that defrauding yourself in the bedroom is a bad thing. It is not good. It is not spiritually right. And the thing with it is that if you're in balance and harmony, and you can bring yourselves into balance and harmony just by your mindset, it's a spiritual thing, very much.
Hey Doc, as far as a guy that's been married for 30 some years, I got to tell you, a lot of my friends they play the same game with their wives. So what'll happen is, okay, we're not going to be together tonight. Fine. Then when she wants to be together, they do the opposite. They'll say, okay, I'm not interested. I got to sleep. I got to go to work. I've talked to guys at work the same way. They're just like that. So it's always a combined mindset that brings you two together. I have triggers. She has triggers. Her triggers trigger my triggers, and then I don't. I'd rather walk away from than being intimate. And it's just the way I am. I'm not trying to hold anything against anybody. It's just the way it is.
Well, that's
I,
because you're
I,
a man. That's because you're a man. Men go silent, and that isn't right. It isn't right to. Let me put it to you this way: what triggers you going silent isn't right. Using that trigger against a man is not right. But that's what a man will do because he doesn't have anybody to talk to, and he's not going to volunteer it. So that's just being a man. So uh, you know, so I mean, the thing of it is that I believe that if we have right thinking on both sides of the coin, and it really boils down to who's the one to solve this, it's always by introspection. You start with yourself rather than your spouse. You try to figure out what's going on in your own life and what's right thinking and what's wrong thinking. You know, read that book. It's very, very interesting. It's called The Complete Works, and it's by Florence Scovel Shinn.
Mhm.
I went to the library today and I read like 3 or 4 chapters. Could not put the book down, and it's amazing, absolutely amazing. So, um, any other comments on that, Doc G?
No, on the book itself, I think affirmations or talking to God or talking to Jesus or looking at the gospel and reading a little passage here and there are good for the soul and they're good for the body and they help us get over the bad times. I recommend that as a financial coach to a lot of people that, if you just let God come into your life, a lot of your problems will either go away or actually reduce in its size. And, that old saying, time heals all wounds. Well, in retrospect, it really doesn't, but what it does is it covers up some of the spots in our life where we weren't really sure of. Some of the spots where we were just like very uncomfortable and we got over it. That's what I tell my wife all the time. I said, look, we're very happy still to be with each other. We choose each other every day, no matter what happens. We choose each other every day. That to me is more than a relationship. That is just being there for each other no matter what. And that's more important than any type of girlfriend, boyfriend, relationship, whatever. It's it's because it's through God. If God allows that, God wants that to happen, God wants to keep us together, then God will keep us together. And our relationship will get stronger. I find it getting stronger every day, even though we have words, even though we're still committed to each other. If you understand what I'm saying to you,
I
we
do. I do
we don't let
understand that.
anything, even if it bothers us, it bothers her, it bothers me, we still end up choosing each other every day, any day. It doesn't matter what happens. You know, no money, more money, and none of them factors should ever change your relationship with you and your spouse and God. That's the way I look at it,
Yeah. Hmm.
and that's what I've always tried to
Well,
portray my daughters the same way.
one thing I want to mention here tonight is that I listened to a woman talk, give a lecture on this. She came under the conviction that she was not to be defrauding her husband. She'd read it from the Bible, and she was under conviction that she had not been, you know, taking care of that side of the marriage on her behalf. So she started really making sure that her husband was well taken care of in that department, and made sure that she was giving him enough affection and things like this. He went on to rise to the top of his business and actually was promoted as a result of her attentions to him. You see, those things make difference to a man, and if a man does not have that support, it affects him spiritually to where he functions less of himself than he should be. And so, women out there, if you can hear that message, take care of your man, and take care of him, and it will make a difference in his life. And it will also bless your own life as a result of that.
I believe
So,
that wholeheartedly. Yeah, I definitely
yeah.
believe that.
And that's where true balance comes into a marriage, and the true effect of a woman on a man. It can be magnificent on what he achieves in his life. So, with that, Doc G, uh, one thing I want to close tonight with, and that's the fact that anytime you hear anybody say that they cure something, just remember there are only three of all those that claim to cure. There are only three that tell the truth, and that's the butcher, the tanner, and the tobacco farmer.
Very good. Thank you, Doc, for being here, and thank everybody for watching.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll talk to you all soon. Bye bye.
Good night.